Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Stay Healthy at Home webinar series. Thank you all for being here with us this afternoon. Just going to give everybody a couple seconds to get settled in and join. Thank you and welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project's Stay Healthy at Home webinar series. My name is Ashley Ritchie, and I'm the director of the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project, which is a program of the ARC of New Jersey. Thank you so much for joining us for another session of the Stay Healthy at Home webinar series, which launched in April of 2020 as a means of staying connected while apart and maintaining a continuous stream of resources and education for members and supporters of the largest self-advocacy organization here in our state, New Jersey, the New Jersey Statewide Self-Advocacy Network. I am so happy to be joined by a fantastic group of guest presenters today, but first, a couple notes. If you have questions or comments throughout today's webinar, please use the chat box located in your Zoom control panel or toolbar. You can submit questions, comments, and feedback in the chat box throughout our time together today. As a reminder, a member of our team is monitoring the chat box throughout today's session, which will run from 2 o'clock until approximately 3:30. I want to make sure that we make the most of our time with our guest presenters today. So without further ado, I will turn it over to you, Frank. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone, to the Sexuality and Healthy Relationships for Self-Advocates, taught by self-advocates and national experts. This presentation was created by NACDD, Mission DD Council, and of Elevators Training. We are all very excited to have you here today.
We are really glad you are here today, and we look forward to spending the next hour or so with you. So now each of us will introduce ourselves. Next slide. So I'll go ahead and start because I am, speaking at the moment. I am Max. I am from the state of Vermont. I am the outreach director for Green Mountain Self-Advocates. My pronouns are he, him, his. Green Mountain Self-Advocates is our statewide disability rights advocacy, self-advocacy organization here in Vermont. I am also an assistant director of technical assistance and outreach for the Self-Advocacy Resource and Technical Assistance Center, SARTAC. So I do work on a national level in that regard as well. I'm glad to be presenting to you all today. I think Frank is next.
Yep, I'm Frank Vaca. My pronouns are he, his, them. I'm a peer educator for the Elevators Training for the Mission Development Disability Council. I help those learn it, and if they have questions, connecting them to the directors. I'm also a leadership development opportunity for the Mission Disability Rights Coalition. That's my partial job, and I'll now turn it over to Mary.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Shambogard. I'm the Community Inclusion Coordinator for the Michigan Developmental Disabilities Council. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Been a sexuality educator for about 40 years now. I hate to say that long, but it makes me feel really old thinking about that. And with that, I will turn it over to Catherine.
Hi, I'm Catherine McLaughlin, and I am the CEO and lead trainer for Elevators Training. And my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And just to let you know that Tia Nellis was supposed to be here with us. She's one of our sexuality educators, but she couldn't make it today. So even though we've got her nice picture on here, she won't be here today, unfortunately. All right.
Yep. Here are the learning objectives for this presentation. Next slide, thank you. What sexual self-advocacy is, here about why is it hard to be a strong sexual self-advocate. Pardon me. Learn ways to build your sexual self-advocacy skills. Know your sexual and relationships rights. Know where to go to get help if your rights are violated, and practices speaking up for yourself about your relationships and in your relationships as well. About and also in your relationships. Thank you.
So I just want to go over some details about the workshop. So all will be on mute during the presentation. We will present a piece of information and then ask for questions. We ask if you please put your questions in the chat box, and Mary will bring your questions to the presenters. And if we pose a question to you, please put your answer in the chat box. So for those who don't know where the chat box is, if you hover your mouse in the bottom of your screen, it should be in the bottom of your screen, you will see in the options, it will have participants, Q&A, share screen, of course, unless you don't have that, raise hand and record. You will see icon that says chat with like somewhat of a bubble slash, like square design. You click on that and the chat box will come up. So that way you can put whatever questions you have for us, or if we pose a question to you, you can put your answers in. Again, the reason why we have these details in place is because we want to give as much attention to the details to answering your questions. So we would like to have the appropriate time and space to do so. So we will ask that you send your questions via chat to Mary, and she will present them to us. Thanks.
Just want to be sure that I turned on the closed captions, and that if anyone needs those, that I think you have to enable them. Is that right, Ashley?
That is correct. So once Catherine enabled the closed captioning, you should see a text box at the top of your Zoom screen. It will say live transcription, closed captioning has been enabled. And then if you go to the live transcript button on the bottom of your toolbar, you can show the subtitles, hide the subtitles, and you can also move the subtitles box around your screen by dragging it. Thank you so much, Catherine.
You've got the next slide up. So one of the formats that Elevatus training curriculum uses to make sure we have a comfortable space for everyone is to talk about group agreements at the beginning of any session that we do. So for group agreements, today, we want to talk about these things that you see on the screen. What is said in class stays in class, unless, and that unless means that if you present to somebody one of the presenters information about having been abused, we are mandatory reporters, so we would work with you privately in the chat to have an opportunity to have that addressed if it hasn't been reported before. Other than that, unless you're reporting abuse, what people say in class, we want to stay in class. So if Frank says something that I think might be funny, I'm not going to bring that up in a separate meeting that, oh, during that class, Frank said this. It's private information. So we like to have that as a group agreement. Stories stay in class, but lessons leave. So I don't tell a story about something Frank said, but the lessons I learn here, I can talk to other people about and share with other people the factual information that I get. Take space and make space. So if you're one of those chatty folks like I am, who take up a lot of space in a meeting, we want you to think about those folks who maybe aren't as chatty and make some space for them. So feel free to talk and add to the conversation, but also make space for other people who maybe have a little difficult time bringing their information up in front of others. Don't yuck my yum, which is really talking about individuality. There are things that we all like or don't like that might be different than the next person. And so we don't bring that up necessarily in class. If Catherine says, I really like chocolate ice cream and I really hate chocolate ice cream, I don't say something like, ugh, that's disgusting. How could you eat that? I just recognize that Catherine and I have differences, and that's okay. All feelings are okay. Whatever you feel about the information, you own your own body, and you can feel however you feel. If you want to talk about information, we'll share some ways you can do that a little bit later. If you need a break, take a break. We're not going to formally take a break in the agenda. So if you need to step aside or you need to mute or go off screen momentarily, we're leaving that up to you. You own your body and you get to decide what you do with it. Next slide, please. So again, we talked a little bit about a trigger warning earlier. Sometimes when we talk about the topic of sexuality, we are aware that people with intellectual and developmental disabilities are abused at a much higher rate than the general population. So anytime we teach, we're just aware that there could be people in that space that have experienced abuse, or whether that's been reported or not, it could make them feel uncomfortable. If you have that feeling that you're uncomfortable, again, do what you need to do. Do self-care. If you need to private chat, either Catherine or I, we'd be happy to talk with you. If you chat with us privately by just clicking on our name in your participant list and then adding that into the chat that you want to private message us, we will address those questions. And then we also have supplied for you here the National Sexual Assault Hotline. You may not feel comfortable talking to Catherine or I or anybody else on the screen regarding things that may have happened to you, but do know that there's always a place that you can call. It's 24-hour hotline number, 1-800-656. I'm having a hard time reading it with my
No problem.
vision.
4673.
Thank you, Frank. Always nice to have a little help from a friend. Okay, next slide.
Before we begin, we would like to talk about two terms. The terms are self-advocacy and what it means, and what is sexual self-advocacy. Self-advocacy means taking the initiative to speak up in your everyday life to improve your situation, change the story, or help someone else. What does sexual self-advocacy mean to you? In the chat, would you tell us what it means to you? Sexual self-advocacy.
What do you think sexual self-advocacy is? Not seeing anything coming up in the chat at this time. Oh, we have one. Maria says, being able to advocate for rights around being treated like everyone else when it comes to sexual relationships. Great answer. Anyone else? We have another one. Advocating for your sexual life preferences. Absolutely. And to know how to ask for help. All great answers.
Okay. As you can see, it means different things to different people. Here's an example from Green Mountain Self-Advocacy on what it means. Speaking up for yourself sexually, getting the information, taking a stand, saying to whomever, this is my choice, setting your sexual limits and desires with your partner, respecting other limits and desires, starting to do what you want with your relationships. Here's and how now what they have defined sexual self-advocacy. Let's talk about why some self-advocates say that it's harder to be a sexual self-advocate. Why do you think it's more difficult? In the chat, write how you feel it's more difficult, and we have included a pamphlet in your handouts. Why is sexual self-advocacy more difficult than regular self-advocacy?
Why would it be more difficult to be a strong sexual self-advocate than to be a strong advocate in other areas of your life?
Before I hand it off to Max, I'll include that it's kind of hard to talk with your parents about it, or you feel like you're going to get in trouble for saying the words, the three-letter word sex, and yeah, you always have to be polite and proper.
So as Frank pointed out, it can be awkward having a conversation with people that are your parents or somebody who feels an authority figure to you about this very private topic. We did have one comment from Erin in the chat. It tends to be a sensitive subject. We always use the phrase it's a hot topic, and that's really true. I mean, because you learn from a very early age to talk about these topics only in private, and sometimes it's with hushed tones. So it makes it a little harder to wonder, can I speak up for myself in this area? All right, I think we're ready for the next slide.
So now we would like to have you be a part of a poll to see what kind of messages you received about sexuality while growing up. You will see a poll pop up on your screen. Please check off any messages that you received while growing up. It can be more than one of the answers. If you do not see it, message us in the chat and we can help you get to it. After everyone is done, and after everyone answers the poll, we will show you the results. All right, okay, you should see the poll pop up on your screen now. All right, so I have some questions about this for you all. And that the first one is like, first of all, I will say that it looks to me that 60%, wow, 60% said they don't talk about it. 20% said they don't have sex. 20% also that says sexual feelings are normal and healthy. 20% said don't touch yourself. 40% said don't have sex until you are married. And 40% said don't be a bad girl. And it looks like 0%, nobody answered sex is a natural or normal part of life and it's okay to be heterosexual. So those are very interesting results. These were messages that were given to you, it seems like. I'm just curious to know, what do you see? I mean, that's my first question. Like when you look at these, what do you see? What comes to mind? What do you see?
And again, you can put your thoughts in the chat box.
Correct.
Erin writes, not a lot of advocacy being taught. Sadly, so true.
Yeah.
I see one person put that sexual feelings are normal and healthy. So there's some positive, but mostly negative.
Yeah, I didn't see. What surprises you?
Anything about those numbers that surprised you in the poll? Working.
Mm-hmm.
We have one comment.
Okay.
And no other comments in the chat at this time.
when you see these percentages of how people answered, like, I'm curious to know what worries you.
Aaron writes in the chat, possibly the lack of sex education. Maria writes, it worries me that people are not being given access to information which can lead to violence.
Mm-hmm.
I worry about, it seems like there's a lot of shame in most of these messages, like don't. And there's no like, what's good about it? Well, one of them, but.
Picking up on what Catherine was just saying, as a psychologist, we always talk about the fact that people with disabilities are more often told what not to do than told what to do. So that negative aspect again, and not anything positive. Adam writes, sex is unhealthy. So that's definitely a message that a lot of people are given. And again, it's a negative message.
Right.
I'm not seeing anything else in the chat. Are we ready to go on to the next slide, Max?
There's one more question, and I think that is just overall, like, what does this tell you? What does this tell us about sexuality?
Go ahead, Max.
In other words, what do the results of the poll tell you about sexuality, if that's even clearer?
Adam dropped in the chat, sex is unhealthy and you'll get your feelings hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Parents need to do better.
You're going to hear words. You're going to hear the words sex and sexuality. And just to make sure that people are not confused, I'm going to take a moment and explain the differences between sex and sexuality. So the difference between sex and sexuality is this. Sex refers only to the physical act of intercourse in all its forms. Sexuality refers to a much bigger set of topics. Examples are like internal body parts, external body parts, function of body parts, genders and gender identity, public and private, puberty and aging, emotions and relationships, masturbations and sex, contraception and sexually transmitted infections, in other words, STIs, pregnancy and infancy, laws about sexuality, sexual abuse, disability effects on sexuality, sex and the media, religious values, and ownership of your body. So just an example of sexuality, I could say this, like an example of sexuality would be you're walking down the street, you see another person you end up finding attractive walking toward you, emotions build up and a feeling of desire takes over. You are feeling attraction, and that is part of sexuality. Another example would be learning let's say, like, about your gender identity or sexual orientation. That is a part of your, a part of sexuality. And another example of sexuality topics are, what are sexual parts and how do you take care of them? So in other words, sexuality means more than sex, and we are all sexual beings, and we all have a sexuality.
Great. Thanks, Max. So we're going to talk about why do you think it's important to learn about sexuality? And I think the poll really showed us that there's a lot of negative messages and not a lot of useful information for anyone, and in particular, people with disabilities. So if you have ideas about why you think it's important, you can put those in the chat and Mary will read them off for you. But what Tia was going to be here, she was going to say that people want and deserve to receive information and skills so that they can make informed choices in their lives. That when we don't have that information, we can't make choices, informed choices, which are important to have the information so you can make a choice that works for you. So Mary will keep an eye on the chat, but then we can move on. And Frank, you're going to tell us about the next slide, right? So one of the reasons. Yeah.
Another reason it's important is because people with disabilities are asking for this information. Here are some quotes from self-advocates. Self-advocates say, so we can learn to have healthy relationships, so we aren't so lonely, so we're able to make informed choices, so we can pick up the right person. Other ones are for health with the toughest part of the relationship, making it last so we can be safe because we all have desires, needs, and that's okay. So that's people know their rights. And so we can be sexual self-advocates, not just self-advocates.
So depending on the study, research shows people with disabilities are anywhere from 4 to 10 times more likely to experience sexual abuse in their lifetime. According to a recent National Public Radio, or NPR, in 2017, showed an estimated 72% of rapes are committed by someone a victim knows. But for women with disabilities, that percent is even higher. For victims with disabilities, their rapist is known to them 86% of the time. So we teach stranger danger, but the statistics say that 86% of victims with disabilities know their rapists. In other words, most of the rapes and sexual assaults that happen to people with disabilities are from people they know. And this usually includes those close to them, like family and caregivers. So the stranger danger point of view, that steers us away from that fact being an important one to focus on. So just 3% of sexual abuses involving people with disabilities, developmental disabilities, are ever reported. 74% of people with developmental disabilities do not have knowledge of lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, and either questioning or queer plus issues. And that 70% have been shown to have negative attitudes toward individuals who identify as LGBTQ+. In a national representative sample of middle and high school age youth, 7th through 12th graders, the association of low cognitive ability with increased risk of sexuality transmitted infections among adolescents, boys and girls, were found to be substantial. These statistics are a painful reality, but learning can change these statistics. So keep that in mind. 8% of adolescent male participants with a developmental disability have been exposed to a sexually transmitted infection, in other words, STI, as compared to only 3% of males with average intelligence. Adolescent females who were sexually active, 26% of the females with developmental disabilities reported having a sexually transmitted infection or an STI, a sharp contrast to 10% of adolescent females with average cognitive ability. The same study found that nearly 40% of cognitively impaired teenage girls had become pregnant, more than double the 18% rate of teenage girls without a mental disability. The more that we are educated about these issues, the less likely that these things will happen.
All right. We're going to talk about being a strong sexual self-advocate. And the way we like to talk about this is to think about what are the beliefs or the thoughts that a strong sexual self-advocate has? What does a strong sexual self-advocate know? What kind of information or knowledge do they have? And then what about a strong sexual self-advocate? What do they do? What kind of skills do they have? And we're going to start first with beliefs. So I'm going to ask you, what do you think a strong sexual self-advocate believes in their brain, in their head? What do they believe? So for example, it could be everyone is a sexual being. It's normal to think about sex and want information about it. That might be a belief that a strong sexual self-advocate has. What are some other things that you think are beliefs that help people be strong sexual self-advocates? Can you write those in the chat? And then we'll share some with all of you.
Erin writes, everyone's entitled to learn about sexual health and activity.
Yeah, exactly. So if someone's thinking that, they have a belief that really, it helps them get information and be a strong sexual self-advocate as well. I'll have Mary, you can interrupt. I'm going to keep going. Oh, here we go.
We have another one. Sex is good or bad things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so thinking that sex is good, but it also might have some bad things is important for people to know that information. Yeah. And if that's a belief that it's bad, that would be something to really talk about. Why do you think it is bad? If you do. Belief that has the right to make informed decisions around having sex. Yeah. Sorry, Mary, I took your spot.
That's all right.
All right. Great beliefs. So we have a few others too. And one of them, lap dance too. Do you mean that believing that having a lap dance is an okay thing, a way to express your sexuality? That would be a belief, like believing that lots of options are okay. So here are a few more. It's my body, my mind, and my life, and they're my own, and I get to decide what's right for me. It's okay to ask questions about sexuality and relationships. Learning about sexuality helps me make healthy decisions in my life. Everyone is a sexual being, including me. There are many types of relationships, and I have the right to be in any type of relationship that I choose. I deserve to be in a healthy relationship. So those are just some other examples of beliefs. And this one's really important for us to remember. And Mary talked about it earlier, that if you want to be here or you need to take a break, it's your body, your life, your mind, you get to decide what's right for you. But looking over the beliefs, I'll show you the list again. Are there any that you're you need to work on to believe, you know? Is there one of those that you feel like, I believe all three, but I don't believe that fourth one, or on this list here? So if you could put in the chat, what are there some that you need to work on to be a strong sexual self-advocate? All right. Well, let me tell you that, you know, lots of people, you know, you might feel like, oh, I believe that everyone's a sexual being, but I feel embarrassed to talk about it. And so we sat, all 5 of us, including Tia, and we talked about, well, how can you get better at having positive beliefs about sexuality? When we were preparing for the workshop. And so we came up with a list of ideas. So sometimes just repeating the beliefs can be helpful. So in our minds saying, it's my body, or I am a sexual being, or some people put Post-it notes on their mirror and read them in the morning every day. Or you can talk to people you trust and get input. You can do some research and study and learn more. And you can also challenge yourself by saying, why do I think this way? Or why do I feel this way? And remind yourself that to never say never, and try to change your thoughts. And sometimes the negative beliefs are not yours, but they might be people around you. So maybe your parents might say something and it makes you feel guilty about wanting to be in a relationship. Or maybe our partners have beliefs like, you know, maybe they have ideas about someone with autism. And so that gets in the way, and that's a barrier. So how do I want to explain my disability too? So sometimes it's not just our own beliefs, but others' beliefs, and we have to educate others. So there's a lot of misinformation, and people, you know, might think about autism as a disease or something, but that everyone can be in sexual relationships. So just some tips for you on thinking about how to get better at having the beliefs that make you a strong sexual self-advocate. And I'm going to pass it to.
Yep. Next, we'll discuss what knowledge you think a strong sexual self-advocate knows. What do you think a strong sexual self-advocate knows? What resources are available? What other things do you think strong sexual self-advocates know? In the chat, write I think a strong sexual self-advocate knows what?
So before we heard about beliefs, and now what do you think a sexual self-advocate knows? Put that in the chat. We have, they should know who to talk to or where to get information to learn from. Absolutely. A strong sexual self-advocate knows where to get factual information from. Okay, I'm not seeing anything else in the chat.
Okay, and these are great ideas about what knowledge is needed, and we have a few more. There's so much to learn. Like, what are the different types of relationships? What is healthy? What is unhealthy? How do I keep myself safe in a relationship? What is consent, and how do I speak up?
All good things for a strong sexual self-advocate to know.
And one part of being a strong sexual self-advocate is asking for information about sexuality. What information would you like to know about? Please put your questions into the chat, and we'll spend 15 minutes answering these questions. If we don't get to them all, we'll list resources for you to use to find out the answers.
Any particular questions of information in this category that you want to know more about? You can put that in the chat box. Okay, we've got a long chat here. I'm curious what advocates think about their opportunity for intimate partners and any of their LGBTQ plus feelings. I have met people who were actively flirting with same-sex friends, but have wondered if some or more of their interest or flirtation with their same-sex friends came from not having the opportunity to date or be with people of opposite sex. I know acceptance, knowledge of LGBTQ plus is lacking, but still think what I mentioned is a separate possible issue to address.
For me, it's a separation of guesses and who I am attracted to. I was attracted to my partner, Alan, way before I even knew anything about him. We just clicked. There's so many interests that the universe decided to become one. I can't really explain love, but when you find the right person, you just click. And there's studies that show that it's part of natural selection, and then there's the nurture. So the argument is still out there. I don't want to put any value to it, but saying that people click.
So I think the most profound thing that what you said indicates, Frank, is it doesn't matter if you're a person with a disability or a person without a disability. You know who you're attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
And what you were saying, you know, when you were describing first meeting Alan, you know, you had an attraction.
Yep.
And so you just know that. We have another question in the chat as well. Adam says about breaking up with girlfriends or boyfriends. So is that a piece of information that you need more, you want to learn more about?
And there are resources out there for breaking up healthily, rather than calling them 300 times and trying to reconnect and trying to take control. That's not consent if two people don't give their yes to.
So yeah, it's a difficult situation thinking about breaking up with someone you've been close to. And the Elevators training curriculum that Catherine's designed has a whole section on identifying healthy and unhealthy relationships, and then what to do if you find yourself in an unhealthy relationship, which also talks about, you know, you might be with somebody, it may have seemed like it was healthy in the beginning, and then it goes bad. What do you do? And safe ways to do that breakup. So we're going to share later some resources where you can get that information. Any other questions people have?
Or Max, do you have anything to add around the LGBTQ question or the breaking up question?
I couldn't think of anything around the LGBTQ plus question. I guess the only other thing I can say about the breakup question is, like, I agree with everything that was said so far. Also, I mean, a relationship may, of course, you do want to evaluate a relationship as to whether or not it's healthy or unhealthy and figure it out. But also keep in mind too that a relationship may start out healthy, it may be good, it may be like, you may feel at first that it may be long, but sometimes, sometimes relationships can fall apart, and that's just, part of being like human. Your interest in somebody, or your, wanting to continue in a relationship may not, may fade away or may not be any longer. So, keeping that in mind is just, it's, a fact of life. Not all relationships are going to last, and not all, whether or not it's a friendship also, just relationships change. And it's just, it's a constantly ever-ending changing, ever-ending and ever-changing, an ever-changing fact of life.
Adam also writes, wanting to learn more about friendships.
Well, I commend him. I commend you, Adam, for wanting to learn more about friendships, because for some people, no matter what age they are, sometimes figuring out who your true friends are can be tough. There's always mysteries in those kind of relationships. It's sometimes reading between the lines can be tricky. What I was taught, well, can I give this? I think it just comes down to just understanding that, friendships, if you feel like someone is not liking you for who you are and it's more for what you have, then, just keeping that in mind, use that as a tool to really kind of evaluate where you are with people in that regard. I don't know if that helps.
Okay. Nothing else
Frank,
in
do you
the
have
chat at
anything?
this time?
I think too, learning like how do you meet people too? Where do you find friends, and what makes a good friend, and thinking about some of those topics and getting some help with meeting people. And I know in the LGBTQ conversation there, it was people were talking about maybe you don't have an opportunity to meet people, whether it's for friendship or for a relationship. Like, how can you meet people and get people in your lives? And what do you like in a friend? And practicing those skills too. It's really helpful.
I also think too, it just comes down to mainly just like to an individual, like, how do you see a friendship and how would you want someone to treat you or look at you if they're like your friend? So just keeping that in mind, just thinking of that.
We have one addition to the chat box. Adam writes, hanging out with your friends. So I'm gonna take the guess that he's talking about having opportunities to hang out with your friends. Like, once you define who is a friend, how do you get those opportunities to spend time with them? Max or Frank, any suggestions?
Go ahead.
With me, it's just finding the right atmosphere. Is it a library? Is it close? And can I get transportation back and forth? Can they be arranged to be in a local place, and just communicating? Does the conversation flow well?
Find out if there's anything in common,
Right.
or if maybe just explore like anything that they would like to try new with you that you may not have in common, depending on the circumstance.
So you talked about looking for common likes or common dislikes,
if possible.
share.
Yes.
Yep.
And
then Frank also kind of talked about developing those opportunities to share those common things, or to avoid those uncommon things that you both don't like.
Yes.
So it takes some planning.
Yep.
To be able to hang out with your friends. Maybe if you're not a person who drives, you need to think about public transportation and how to both get at the same place at the same time. But when you really care about somebody and you're attracted to somebody, you want to spend more time with them, whether it's as a friend or it's a friend relationship that's turning into more than that. You got to figure out how to get to know somebody and be able to spend time with them first. Okay, I don't see anything else in the chat. Are we ready for the next slide?
I think Here are some resources if we didn't have enough time to answer your questions. Organization for Autism Research, Sex Ed Guide for Self-Advocates, Elevators Training, get on their e-newsletter. It's very informative. To listen and watch Sex Talk for Self-Advocates webinar series, Organization for Autism Research, Sex Ed for Self-Advocates podcasts, Sex Ed for people with IDD videos by NCIL and Rooted in Rights. And the handouts for the workshop, Sexual Self-Advocacy, Sexual Rights are in English and in Spanish, and also the slides.
All right. So just like we did for beliefs and knowledge, now we will look at skills and practice a few skills of being a strong sexual self-advocate. So my question to you all is, what skills does a strong sexual self-advocate have? So put your ideas and answers in the chat. Again, what skills does a strong sexual self-advocate have?
We had somebody write in the chat, communication, setting boundaries.
If you guys get stuck, I think of a strong self-advocate does, and then just finish it if you need that as a hint.
I was going to say respects others' boundaries too.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts? Again, you can write those in the chat box.
All right.
Nothing
Is
else in the chat?
All right. So the answers in the chat box, very good answers. So here are a few more skills. We will practice some of these skills to be a strong sexual self-advocate. And these skills include how to speak up. Practice makes us get better at it. How to advocate for your rights to be in any relationship that you choose. How to speak up in your relationship. How to speak up with staff and or your parents. And your parents. So there are many times when we have to speak up for ourselves about sexuality and healthy relationships. Sometimes it is to staff or parents, and sometimes it is in our sexual relationships. So let's start with some tips for speaking up to staff and or parents. Now, I'm going to tell you all some tips for talking to your parents or your staff. And, you know, these are general tips that are just suggestions, you know, that's all. So, you know, tips for talking to staff or parents, they are, you know, and again, these are just, you know, suggestions. Stand or sit straight, you know, facing the person, you know, look at them, you know, in the eyes, use a calm voice, don't get too close, be positive even when you disagree with the person, know your rights. You have the right to be in a sexual and or romantic relationship. Know your state laws. Reach out to advocacy centers if needed. It is your life, your body, and your mind, and you get to decide what is right for you. Don't wait for permission to say what you need and want. Stick up for what you want. Say what you want without feeling guilty or feeling like you are a bad person. So with that said, does anyone else have any ideas about speaking up? If so, put your answers in the chat and Catherine will read them off.
Any other ideas for speaking up to staff or parents? Confidence and comfortability can be very useful. Yeah, sort of believing in yourself and that you have the right to speak up too. Yeah, and being confident. Great. The more you speak up, the easier it becomes. Practice, practice. Yeah, it's very true. Thanks, Erin. People can add more. We're going to do some role plays now, and then you can tell us what you think the people did well around speaking up. So let me go to the next slide.
So as was said, we are going to do some role plays and you will watch and listen to us and look for things that we did well. So I am the self-advocate in this first one, and I believe, Mary, you are the staff person. All right. Hey, Mary, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you today, Max?
I'm doing good. So I am, I have this, person that I really, really like. And I was gonna, as you know, like I was gonna have him over, but I was pretty much kind of feeling like, I was gonna just have him over, but I was gonna pretty much go in our room and hang out. And I just feel like I just would like to have some privacy while doing that.
Oh, whoa, wait, Max. Yeah, you're welcome to have people over, but being in your room, as long as you're gonna have to keep that door open. I need to be able to know what's going on. So, I
Well,
think having him in your room would be okay, but you just makes me kind of nervous.
may I ask why? Because I can give you I'll give you like my perspective, but what is it about that?
Well, because I'm on shift right now, so I'm responsible for everybody in the home, and I just need to make sure you're going to be safe. And so, I just think that you should really keep the door open so I can hear what's going on.
Well, I'll be honest with you. It's funny that you bring up that concern, because I brought this case up to my parents, as well as my case manager at the agency, and they know that I'm going to be safe, and they trust what I'm going to be doing. They know that me and this person have known each other for a while, and they're very respectful. They will not do anything in the house that will be disrespecting you or the property. And they said it's completely okay to have the door closed.
Ooh, okay. Well, maybe we need to call the house manager, just, and I'll follow whatever they tell me to do.
Well, I'll be honest, the house manager was involved in our conversation, and they said, because you've demonstrated how safe you are, they believe it's okay as well.
Okay, if the house manager said that's okay, then
They did. They were in our conversation. We brought this up with them.
okay. But I'm gonna write it in the log. Just, I need to document everything.
I mean, go ahead and document it, but like everybody is, everybody that I talk to, including the house manager, it's been documented that I have been a very safe person as well. And this person is really, very respectful. I've been choosing the people that I hang out with very carefully. And this person is very respectful. And, I can tell you that you will not have any issues. It's just, I think it's just with the door closed, everything will be fine.
Okay. So do we want to get some input now?
What did you notice that Max and Mary did that worked well? I give kudos to Mary for sticking up for her job aspects, covering the all the T's with T's in the eyes, and I give kudos to Max for sticking up to his what his guns are. So what did everybody else think of? Can I read some of these in the chat? Cool. We had speaking up and being honest about what Max wanted. Max effectively advocated for his needs and rights. Oh, cool.
He also listened really well, like what makes you worried about that? Like asked questions and was very respectful, even though he was disagreeing with Mary. Because you're a friend. Yeah, so it sounds like they have a good good relationship, so they respect each other and can talk to each other. Even though it is a staff person, which wouldn't really be a friend, but maybe they're friendly together.
So Adam may be talking about the fact, when he says because it's your friend, even if you live in a group home setting, you're entitled to make friends, to have friends, to spend time with friends. I give kudos to Max because I think you handled the situation wonderfully. And I was one of those staff that I'm responsible for everything. And you just very calmly let me know that this is your right and this is what needs to happen. And you obviously had done your research in terms of knowing, what a staff's reaction might be to that, and you were prepared.
Adam wrote, be nice, you're friends. So yes, so being nice to the people that you're having a conversation with. And then Aaron said, being told no at first, Max was respectful when he explained what he wanted. Mm-hmm. Yes. Let's do another one.
Okay.
So now I'm going to be a parent, and Frank is going to be a self-advocate. Well, my son. You're not really my son, but you know what I mean.
Hey, Dad, wake up!
I'm already awake. What's
okay, up? I want to have friends over.
Yeah. Who are these friends?
My special friend.
Yeah, your special friend. Can you? I mean, I guess I can say this. Like, what are you guys going to be doing over here?
We're gonna hang out in my room.
That's it.
Can you have the music turned up so you don't have to hear us?
Well, I never have music playing anyway.
Yeah, it's Kelly from next door. The one that makes me have special feelings.
Yeah. I get that. But what exactly are you going to be doing in your room?
We're gonna be playing doctor.
Okay, that doesn't explain it as much to me. Because the last time you said this, you guys were drinking, and you guys got out of hand, and I had to clean up, like, the mess that you made, and I had to really kind of lay down the rules. And I just, the last time you said you were going to have people over, it's just has not ended up in a good situation. So I just don't know if what you're telling me I can go with.
Can I ask her parents if we can go over to her house then?
Yeah, but the last time you went over there, it was the same thing. I've had conversations with them too.
All right, maybe we'll plan for next time then.
Well, whatever this next time is, I don't know when, but I need to know what you guys are all doing.
All right. Thanks, Dad.
All right.
So what did everybody notice that Max and Frank did that worked or maybe didn't work? Suggestions you have for them in the role play? You can write your comments in the chat.
For me, I was deliberately not being specific enough and not waiting on his answers before I responded. So you kind of have to guess what your parents or staff might be thinking, and then lay down what you actually want, rather than this is what's going to happen.
And Frank, I got to say, as a parent in this role play, if you wake me up first thing in the morning before I've had my coffee, maybe wasn't the best timing. And I think you kind of played the role that way.
I hammed it up. Thank you.
Any comments from other participants? What did you like or not like about how Frank asked? And what did you like or not like about what Max said as the parent?
Feel free to give me all the criticism in the world. I can take it.
I'm just waiting.
Me too.
Just write your comments in the chat box.
I have my own answers, but I'd rather
They
not
raise
say
their
them.
hand, but I don't think we can hear people, right? So they have to put it in the chat.
Yeah.
We've got some comments now. They kept the conversation going. The line of communication was open. Yeah. A parent-child relationship is a very unique one. And so that's half the battle, really, keeping that line of communication open.
One more role play.
Okay.
So Mary and Frank will do the role play, and Mary is the self-advocate. Frank is the self-advocate, and wait a minute.
We're asking each other.
I think, yeah, they're asking each other on a date. Yeah, okay, I got it now. And Mary is asking Frank out on a date.
Okay, and I want you to give me lots of good input, because I'm going to play this one up.
Oh, this is going to be great.
So, Frankie, how you doing?
Nothing much, Mary. I'm just looking on the internet for my next big date. How about you?
Oh, you're looking on the internet? Well, why don't you ever think about going on a date with me? I mean, we've worked together for a long time now, and you don't have to get on the internet. We could go on a date.
we're coworkers and we're friends, and I've seen how you live, Mary, and it's not very possible for me to think of romance when I see a big, huge cross in the middle of your bathroom. And yeah,
Well, but we could still go on a date. It could be fun. You don't know everything about me. Just because I have a cross in my apartment doesn't mean that we couldn't go out on a date. And just because we work together, I mean, we wouldn't be going out while we're at work. We'd be going out after work.
okay, I'll give you a try. You're better than Stephanie from Idaho. Okay, what time should I pick you up at?
Oh, well, I don't know if I want you to pick me up. Why don't we meet there?
That sounds good. What time?
Uh, well, I don't know. If you're picking up people on the internet, maybe I want to meet at a public place where there'll be lots of people. So what about 6 o'clock at the coffee shop?
Sounds good.
All right, I'll meet you there.
Sounds great. I'll put that in my email. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. So what did you
So,
guys think?
yeah, what did you notice that Mary did that worked well, or what did Frank do that worked well?
Here's one.
So I got Aaron says Frank was honest about his hesitations. Good, nice to talk your friend. That's what I got from.
Yeah, the confident friend.
Yeah.
We're friends and they want to become more. I get it.
Mhm.
So you can also drop in the chat if you saw things that you didn't think we did so well. Because whenever we role play these, we do both. We do some things that we think are real positive to do, and kind of examples of strong self-advocates or self-advocacy. And we also do some things that we wonder if you'll catch, like some things that maybe wouldn't have been the best plan. So feel free to write those in the chat box as well.
All right.
So what did we not do so well?
No, should mean no.
Absolutely, Aaron. I really kind of pushed the issue, didn't I? Because he told me no, and I just kept going. No means no.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Did Frank like
Adam,
coffee? Yes or no? Oh, good point. Maybe I'll just there for the conversation.
yeah, I didn't really check on what he wanted, did I? It was all about what I wanted to do.
Yes.
It was a good idea to meet in a public place and drive yourself. That's what Aaron said.
Well, I did one thing right, Aaron. I thought about that.
Yeah.
Meeting in a public place.
I don't see any others.
Cool.
Okay. I think we're ready for the next slide.
Yeah.
All right. So you can advocate for yourself or get involved in a group on sexual self-advocacy. So number one, think about who you are and what type of relationship you want. Number two, learn about the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationships. Number three, take a class or attend a workshop about sexuality. Number four, speak up to your friends, family, staff, and circle of support about what you want. And become number five, become a sexuality peer educator. Number six, join a local, state, or federal group that advocates for sexuality education. Number seven, lobby for quality sexuality education programs. And number eight, lobby for disability justice within the laws in your state. So these are, ways you can inform yourself and others, about their rights as sexual human beings. And some of these things take time, but others you can start right away, today, as soon as you leave this presentation, whenever. And if you're not a person with a disability, but a supporter or ally, you can inform yourself too and spread the word.
We're going to just open it up for any more questions because we have about 8 minutes left. So if you could put questions in the chat, but I'm also going to show you a couple of things as well to help us wrap up for today. So any questions? We'd love to hear them, but we're also doing a 4-part series on healthy relationships and sexuality. And so the first session is in a couple of weeks on February 15th. And this flyer is in the handouts as well that were put in the chat. And you can sign up for the first session. And then we'll be sending more information about the second and third and fourth session. So it'll be the same group, but you can get more information. And each session is 3 hours. So this was a short kind of introduction. And any other questions so far? I think we've got our contact information here if anyone needs to reach out. Looks like Adam said, thank you. You are welcome. And we can just wrap up now. And Frank, I believe this is you, right?
Thank you all so much for presenting this wonderful workshop. Thank you to Catherine, Frank, Max, and Mary. And thank you all for being here and submitting your questions and comments and feedback throughout the session.
And
any other questions in the chat? Frank, did you want to say something?
yep, if you have one thing you're going to do to become a strong sexual self-advocate, what will you be doing? Put it in the chat below. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me present.
It was fun.
Yes, my dog is whining, but it was fun.
Is that what that is?
I thought it was a like fire alarm. Oh,
No, it's not that. It's something else. Wow.
So if you have one thing that you're going to do once you leave this presentation to become a strong sexual self-advocate, what would it be? We ask you to write those in the chat. One comment, talk to your friends about nice things. And then Erin made a comment earlier. I don't know if we said this one. It was a good idea, I guess, in the last role play, to meet at a public place and drive yourself. My mother used to always refer to that as always have an exit strategy. Speaking up when something bothers you, always a good plan.
Anybody else? Last comments before we wrap up? We hope we see you all at the next event and learn more about being a strong sexual self-advocate. And we'll get into more information at those other ones as well. Max or Frank or Mary, any last words before we wrap up?
I just wanted to add in a plug for building health relationships at work, because I kind of threw that into that role play. Nobody really mentioned the difference between a relationship at work versus a relationship outside of work. So that's a really nice curriculum that really helps people figure out the ins and outs and what can and can't happen in a work environment. So that's one thing that you could do, is check into that.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that are interested in LGBT issues, Elevated's training does the building across, building over walls, presentations on LGBT with disabilities, and Oscar and Pauline do an excellent job training it. So highly recommend that course.
Mhm.
Max, you want to wrap up the session for us?
All I can say is, I hope this information is helpful, and I hope you have good, healthy relationships wherever they go, and just speak up, and keep on keeping on.
Thanks, everybody. And
All
I should
right.
put the handouts in the chat again if you didn't get them the first time.
Yeah,
Take
so
care,
thank you all
everyone.
again for being here. We did put several handouts that the presenters wanted us to share with you all in the chat, so you can download those. And again, we thank you all for being here. Excellent work. Thank you for addressing this really important topic, and we hope to see you again soon. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good day.
You too.